Okay. Hello, hello. I am here with the extraordinary Victoria Sconion today. This is the Business in Abundance interview series where I interview professionals in the mind, body, spirit, wellness, and with Victoria, social media, influencing business support realms to bring you guys incredible people with incredible offers, help them to stand out and be in the spotlight so you can get to know who they are and what they offer, and just learn how to work with them and be in their energy. So I'm very excited to have Victoria here with us today. And you can check Victoria out. If you use this QR code, it'll take you to that website you see below. This will take you right to all things Victoria. So Victoria, I'd love to open this up to you. I want to hear about who you are, anything you want to share with us. Yeah, just introduce yourself and then we'll dive into some juicy topics.
Okay, I am Victoria Sconion, and I have a variety of different social media platforms. I went to school for communications, and I am now running my own business doing social media management, as well as coaching and mentoring with other people.
I love it. So we're going to just dive right in because you mentioned something to me before we started this interview, which I think is true for like a lot of people that, and this all comes back to visibility and social media. It's like, we know we want to be out there. We see TikTok, we see Instagram, we see YouTube, and we're like, I want to do that, or I can do that, or maybe I should do that for my business. What happens, and even for somebody in the social media business, for a lot of people? Because I think what I see is that a lot of people get sort of, they become afraid or they get held back. So I'd love to hear like any of your wisdom around that when it comes to other people. And then even for yourself, like sometimes we're afraid to put ourselves out there, right? So what happens there?
For me, I feel like that feeling is going to be there regardless. You're always going to be afraid to do something, but it's just a simple fact of actually doing it. For me, in this experience, because usually I'm the one that's putting other people onto my platform and being the one asking the questions. And this was way out of my comfort zone, and I was so uncomfortable. And I was like, I'm probably not going to do this. But then I was like, yes, I'm going to do this. I'm probably not going to do this, but yes, I'm going to do it. And then and I'm still doing it. Like, obviously. And so it's a little painful sometimes because you have to get out of your comfort zone. You actually have to be the one that pushes yourself to do it, even if you are uncomfortable. But I think that's the main process for me, especially being a vlogger where I was vlogging my life every day. And so you have to go outside with the camera and talk to a camera and public with other people watching you. And it becomes like you become self-conscious about it. But at the same time, you just got to keep practicing and practicing, because then it gets so easy to be like, okay, nothing makes me uncomfortable. But then you have the desire to want more and to experience more. So that's where I feel like, outside of the money making and everything, it's about the desire of wanting more out of life than just money.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad you're here and that you decided to show up and get past that, get past your
side of your
comfort zone. Because I think that all of us experience that to some degree when we put ourselves out there on social media, whether it's It's like, it could be even in a post. It's like being vulnerable in any way, sharing ourselves, the fear of like sharing our business, and the fear of like rejection, or what if people don't like me or want to work with me or sign up with my offer for
Yeah.
my offer. But what I've noticed personally is that the more I do it and receive that affirmation from others, and that validation, or those couple of comments here and there where somebody said, wow, you really inspired me today, you really motivated me, it makes it all worth it. And it actually
Yeah.
helps to just break down those walls of fear that start to come up about putting yourself out there. And so you touched a little bit upon vlogging, and I've always wondered like what it's like kind of life behind the scenes of, you know, a YouTuber or a vlogger. But you have a pretty impactful story about why you started vlogging, and I'd love to hear anything that you want to share with us about that story. What led you to begin this journey, and take us a little bit into kind of where you are now, and what was that journey like?
So I initially started YouTube as a self accountability journal for myself, and then as I became like more engulfed into motherhood, it became about kids and you know spending time with kids and trying to homeschool and working with them. But then I kind of like not really took it seriously. It was just more of like random postings every so often. But it wasn't until my family and I became homeless, and I was just like, I want to document this because I want to be able to look back on it and say I actually did it. Like I got out of the situation. I'm actually successful and I did what I wanted to do. And so I started recording everything about our lives, us being homeless, us struggling, living in a tent at one point. And then as time went on, people started noticing my story and wanted to see where I ended up going. And I ended up going back to college, and I got my degree in communications, like I mentioned earlier. My husband ended up going back to school, and he's getting his teaching degree. And now we live in a 5 bedroom house. So it's just amazing to see the process from the beginning to now, and how things are going to be completely different for our family now that we are at a place that we're no longer surviving, but now we're thriving.
I love that. And I love that story. And just the fact that you went from this place that sounded very, like where's my next home going to be, or
Yeah.
maybe meal or money to provide for my family. Like that is a very scary place to be. And to document that and share that with the world and be that vulnerable and that real with people, that is, that takes incredible courage, for one thing, to put yourself out there like that and share that part of yourself. And also just because probably a lot of people out there watching could relate to pieces of your story or some of the things that you went through. And that's one thing that I think social media can do, and that why it's
Yeah.
so powerful, and in our ability to connect with other people. She's a warrior. Yes, some comments coming through, Michelle. She is a warrior. And these are the kinds of stories and truths that inspire people. And it's also such a great message to others. Like, sharing your story is so important.
Yeah.
And the more vulnerable and real you are, and I think this can apply to social media in general, there's so much fake out there. We don't need any more fake. What
Exactly. We
we
need
need
real.
real. We
We need
need
real.
authenticity. Can
Yes.
relate to that. So I love your story. Thank you for sharing that. And just the fact that you went back to school, your husband went
Right.
back to school. You
It was
you are
not easy. Not easy.
I can't even imagine, being in, well, I can because I've had some similar things happen in my life. But so I know that it takes an incredible amount of resilience, and grit. And that's that desire to keep going and reaching for your goals and going after them. And I just love to hear from you, somebody who's experienced this. What would you say to others that are maybe, in a rough spot in life, or struggling, or kind of don't have that hope and that faith that they can be successful? Maybe they want to start putting themselves out there and gaining that visibility. I would just love to hear what would you say to them to kind of help them to get started?
I always teach this to my clients, and it's two things: be shameless and also be selfish, because those are like the two main things in order for you to be visible the way you want to be people to see you. And sometimes people are not going to always see you the way you want to be seen, but that's okay, because the people that actually really vibe with you, they will ride with you. And that's something I've been saying for a while, is like, people really love you, and they're loyal, and they'll support you regardless of what's going on, whether if you make mistakes or not. Those are people that you want into your life. You want them to be attracted to you. And so I tell people, be selfish, and it's okay to be selfish, and it's okay to be shameless. Like, you don't have to be afraid of your story. Your story doesn't define you. It's just an experience that you went through during this human experience.
That is so powerful and such great wisdom, because so often I find, even in the business world, that shame or those blocks about worrying about what other people are going to think holds people back.
Yes, it
And once
does.
you let that go and you're like, I'm just going to put myself out there. The people who love me will love me. The people who don't, that's okay. I'm not for everyone, but I'm going to
Right.
show up every day. I'm going to put myself out there. So that is really, I think, what it takes. And then a word I hear come up a lot, and even something I struggle with in social media, is consistency. So I would love to hear kind of your wisdom around, like, whether what people say to me is like, oh, I don't know what platform. Should I be on Instagram? Should I be on YouTube? Should I be on Facebook, TikTok? So people get overwhelmed, don't know where to be, and then they don't really know how to be consistent. So I'd love to hear any of your wisdom around any of that.
In order to be consistent, you have to make it into a habit. So it has to be something that you make it to where it's a part of your routine. So for me, it was like a muscle like memory, where I was just picking up the camera every single day, because it was just something that I wasn't like, it was a habit of doing. So that's the only way to be consistent, because you have to fit it into your routine, so that way it's like a habit that you can't even think, like, you're not even realizing that you're picking it up. And it's crazy, because like recently I stopped vlogging as much as I used to, and it became a habit to now where I'm not vlogging as much as I used to. So not became a habit for me to pick up the camera. Now it's been a habit to pick up a pencil or a pen and journal instead.
Mm-hmm. So you replace the vlogging with the journaling,
Yeah.
right? Which is great, because I think it's all expression. It's
Yeah.
all, do you
It's all
feel
creative expression, and I mean, I'm going to come back with YouTube and start vlogging again, but sometimes it, like, you just need to know when there's a time where you have to reshift and refine your brand, so that way it fits who you are in the moment, instead of where you were at 5 years ago, or where you were at 10 years ago. Like, your mindset changes when you actually take a step back and think about what it is that you want to bring to the table. Sometimes the offers that we think we want to offer is not really what people need, because we fail to understand that we're working for them and we want them to buy from us. So when it comes to a platform, I feel like you have to go with your skills and what you feel comfortable with. If you're very well known in Instagram, and you know how to work the features, and you know how to edit and put the tags and everything in there, stick with that. If you are comfortable with TikTok, go with TikTok. Like, but pick one. I would say pick one, so that you're not overwhelmed trying to learn different platforms, because each one has their own rules. Each one has their own little nicks and little tweaks and stuff. So I just personally picked YouTube, because it was something that I was already passionate about. I love videos. I love editing. I love coming up with different concepts and the angles, and trying different lightings, and then editing different color grades, and matching the video to the audio. So all that was something that I was passionate about already. So it was no brainer to go to YouTube and learn more behind the scenes as I was growing my channel.
Yeah, that's what would you say to somebody who's like, because I hear a lot of people, oh, I want to be on YouTube. I want to do YouTube. but they never get started because they, oh, I don't know how to do an intro or an outro or edit, or, what would you say to somebody wanting to get started with YouTube who doesn't really have maybe that experience or that maybe even that passion or the tech skills?
Use your phone. I tell everybody this, like, even my new clients, and they come in and they're like, what's your camera? And I'm like, you don't need my camera. You use your phone, especially if you have an iPhone. iPhone has like the best quality cameras, and you probably have it better on your iPhone than actual camera that you're carrying around. And it's so easy to edit on the iPhone. Even on a Samsung, and you can edit videos on there as well. But my favorite app to use is CapCut because it's so simple to use, it's user-friendly. And there's so many different YouTube videos out there to teach you how to edit a video. And that's something that I did. I did that a lot, was watching YouTube videos when it comes to makeup and fashion and editing and web designing. I use YouTube because other people taught me, and that was because it was free. I didn't have the money to spend on buying like softwares and programs. I Googled everything. But for somebody that's starting out and doesn't want to deal with any of that, use your phone and use the free services that are available so that you can grow your brand.
YouTube really is such an incredible resource. I mean, you can look up almost anything and learn how to do almost anything.
Yeah.
And what was the name of that program you mentioned? Was it CapCut?
Yep, CapCut.
CapCut. Okay. So for any of you guys just getting started, CapCut is good because I think sometimes people get held back too. And what I always tell people is just get started.
Just get started.
Put yourself out there. You don't have to have the perfect equipment. You don't have to have the perfect this or that. Just start putting yourself out there, and you'll start to gain that audience and that traction, and you'll refine
I think a lot of people get hung up on when they hear about the algorithm and SEO and all the big term words that people don't understand. And honestly, originality is like way better than you trying to keep up with something that you're not comfortable with or you don't want to really learn how to do. So it's like, just be yourself, be authentic, and just, even if it's only a 10-second clip, that's fine. Like, it doesn't have to be anything extravagant. I tell people all the time to keep it simple, even if it's just text and in some random song that you picked. That's better than nothing, because at least you're showing yourself in that moment, because you may not be that same person in 5 months, 6 months, when your platform starts to grow, because people are going to find you and then be attracted to you because of who you are, not what you're trying to become.
Yes, I love that. And that brings me back to something you said a little while ago, how, it's okay to sometimes take a break from that platform or that social media and reground yourself about, who am I? What is my message? And make sure you're not just doing it for the audience. Ultimately, like I always tell people, is what you're putting out there authentic and in alignment with who you are or your business or the transformation you create in people's lives or the message you want to send. And, sometimes people, I think, feel so much pressure to create content. And then it becomes more about just creating content, and it actually loses the essence and the magic of the connection with that person. So yeah, I'd love to hear also just your thoughts about like this push for content.
Oh yeah, and I've been there to where I was just pushing out content just to push out content to make other people happy, not realizing that I was not happy with the content that I was putting out. I was just like, oh, I have to put something out because I have people waiting, I have people watching, and not realizing like, this is not really what I want to post. Like, this is not who I am. This is not what I enjoy doing. So I just took a step back and I was just like, I'm not going to post at all, and allow myself to not be so panicked and overwhelmed with pleasing other people instead of making myself happy. And since I took that step back, I've noticed that I've been a lot more happier, because I don't have that like constant urge to want to go and pick up a camera, or that urge to watch my numbers and see what's going on, and being overwhelmed with comments and responding to comments, because it can be overwhelming sometimes. And I give it to the influencers that can go every single day, and manage that plus mom life and work life. It's a lot. It's a lot.
It's a lot. I don't think people always realize, like, they might say, "Oh, I want to be an influencer," what that actually means. The other thing
Mm-hmm.
is that you touched on is the obsession with numbers and like
Oh yeah.
followers and losing followers. And I think that can get in the way sometimes of just, that authentic connection and creating content really that's in alignment with your soul and your purpose. Um, yeah. So, what would you say to people who are just like, oh, I have to get this many followers? Like, how do you bring it back to them, making it about what matters?
'Cause I remind them that like it's not about the growth strategy, it's about the creativity strategy. Like don't focus on the numbers and the growth because that actually doesn't matter, especially as an influencer. It doesn't matter when it comes to getting brand deals and making money. There's other ways to be able to monetize your audience without having to feel the need to have those amount of numbers. It's just how you brand yourself and how you market yourself so that way people are like, I trust you, you have the credibility, you're real, you're authentic, so I know when you post something or you're offering something, it's for a good value. It's not because you're just trying to sell me something, you're actually offering something with value behind it. And that's where, like you said, you're in alignment with what you are, who you are, what you're doing on your content. So it's like you have to know what your values are and your morals are, because if you don't have that, then you're just going to be like anybody else who's just selling just to be selling just so they can get a paycheck.
I love that you have to think about, your values when you're putting yourself out there on social media.
Mhm.
I love that. And I think that's so important in business too. And it sometimes gets lost in translation and forgotten that we always have to check in with our personal values. I'd love to hear more about how you work with people and what are the types of things that people come to you for, and what are some of the ways that you help them?
People usually come to me for YouTube advice or marketing advice. I recently had a client who reached out to me because he wanted me to sync up his Instagram and his Facebook to his website so he could start selling on there. So, like, I do a lot of work behind the scenes that I don't actually advertise that I do. So, it's a variety of different things, but my main thing is the coaching and the YouTube atmosphere, because that's what I'm known for mostly, especially with my small knit of community that I built over the last 10 years on Facebook. And I don't know, it's just my little community, and people are like, you know what you're talking about, so I'm going to hire you.
Amazing. And so at what stage would somebody come to you? Could they have, like, maybe they already have a social media presence, but it feels kind of disjointed. Maybe they already have a YouTube channel, but they're not, really,
It
maybe they
doesn't
don't
matter.
have.
I've had people that people that just started out, and then I had people who like grew so big that they started panicking because they didn't know what to do, where to go, how to continue to process the amount of following they had. And each one I was able to manage and help them, because like it's crazy, because like people make more money than I do on YouTube, and I'm on the sideline like, yes. I'm like super excited for them. So it doesn't matter where they're at in their business or their brand or whatever they're trying to accomplish when it comes to YouTube, because YouTube is used for multiple different reasons, whether if it's just an influencer or you have a business that you are trying to sell, whether if it's products or services, or you just simply want to share it, cat videos. Like it's all over the place, but it's always a place that you can always know that you're going to be able to make money off of it, even with the small following.
So is that something you mentioned, creative strategy? Is that something that you would help them maybe even figure out
Yeah,
their creative strategy with their
yeah,
YouTube channel?
yeah. We work on a content planner, a strategy plan where they focus on the creativity instead of focusing on the numbers, because that's something that a lot of my clients they panic or worry about the numbers, and then they see one thing and then they're like, wait, I don't see it on another part. Like, yes, I see my numbers going up, but I don't see my pay going up. And I'm like, you have to understand the back end of it. So I try to teach the back end of like the analytics and everything, because that makes people a lot less stressed out. But usually what I do is I work with everybody on a different level, because what one person needs, another one might not need that, or they are on a different level. So that's usually how I manage my clients.
Amazing. And what's the best way for people to reach you? Is it go to your website, which is here on the QR code too, and kind of connect with you there?
They can reach out to me on Instagram and Facebook as well. Because I know not everybody wants to leave the apps to go to another
And I
website.
will link Victoria's Instagram and Facebook on this video. But if you could just share with us your Instagram and your Facebook name so they can find you.
My Instagram is biz coach at Victoria Sconion. And then my Facebook is just my first and last name, Victoria Sconion.
Amazing. And I'd love to hear a little more. I know we've been talking a lot about YouTube, but you actually offer a YouTube mentorship. And I'm going to
Yes.
change our little QR code here. So if you point your camera, this will take you right to information about Victoria's YouTube mentorship. So is there anything else you want to share maybe about how that works or what that looks like? I know you just told us a lot about how you kind of meet everybody where they're at. Now, say like my son, he's into gaming. Like, could somebody come to you that has like, hey, my child wants to get into YouTube, gaming, and then maybe as a parent, I have concerns. Do you ever work with like the parents if their kid wants to do YouTube?
I've had a few people reach out to me and tell me that their kids want to do YouTube and do a gaming channel. And I kind of work with the parents because it's a lot easier than trying to explain to a child, because all they care about is playing the video game. So I work with the parent and explain to them, like, this is what you have to do. This is a full-time job. I wouldn't expect your child to get it unless they're like 15, 16. But it's easier for me to work with them one-on-one, because instead of a group setting. So that's why I have the YouTube mentorship, because it's a one-on-one interaction with me and the client. We go through everything. I break down how to start a channel, and if they need me to help them with the back end of it, I can help them with that, and I actually break it down with the tutorial. If they need help with editing, I break that down with a tutorial, or I do it for them for a fee, because sometimes people don't want to do it. Like it can get overwhelming to having to learn how to edit and do thumbnails. I work with them on SEO. I explain to them why it's important to build a brand when it comes to having a YouTube channel. We go down a long list of things, and if even if it doesn't come up in a session, if something happens and they're like, oh my goodness, this is going on, and I work with them through it, so that way they're not overwhelmed or panicking in the moment when something happens to their channel.
And how long does that YouTube mentorship last? And how often do you meet with them or work with them?
So it depends on each client. Each one, it lasts for the whole month. So it's $99 the whole month, and then we meet once a month. It could be more. It depends on the person, how serious they want to take it, because I remind people that I'm not really doing the work for you. You got to be the one that's going to hustle it. And if you really want to take it seriously, just call me anytime, because I want them to feel like they have somebody on their side 24/7. Doesn't mean I'm available 24/7, but I want them to feel like they have a support, somebody that's going to support them, because it's not just about the views and the money and everything, because there's going to be scrutiny. There's going to be some hard days where you're not going to be like, I don't feel like doing this. I'm over it. I'm done. And that's the whole point of me being a coach and a mentor, is so that way I could be that cheerleader and be like, no, this is what you said you wanted to do. Let's do this. You need to get out of your own way. So, and then if sometimes they need help with like content ideas, I help them with content ideas.
I love that. That accountability and support is so powerful, because I think a lot of people might get excited and then they hit those days where they're like, I don't have anything. Why am I doing this? All
Yeah.
those self-doubts, those beliefs, those fears come in and they want to maybe throw in the towel. So I think having a coach, having a mentor, having that guidance and that support so that you hold on to your dream, so that you keep putting your story out there and your content out there, and whatever it is you're trying to share and whoever you're trying to reach, having a coach in your corner makes all the difference.
Oh yeah, it does.
So I love that. Well, thank you so much, Victoria. I appreciate you being here and sharing some of your wisdom. I think there's so much more we could go into when it comes to
Oh yeah.
social media and content. This is such a big topic. I'd love to hear, is there any other just words of wisdom or advice, or even tools that you wanted to share with people for them to, get started or take their social media or even their YouTube journey to the next level?
Um, Regardless of what it is that you're sharing, just promote every single day. Promote yourself. And that's where I said, like, sometimes you have to be shameless about it and be selfish, because if you truly want to see any success, you have to promote yourself and let people know that you're there.
I love that. That's a good piece of wisdom. And are there any tools or methods that you use, like setting a timer or a reminder, or
I actually have a schedule. So like Monday through when it comes to social media, Monday through Thursday, I focus on research, coming up with concept ideas, captions, titles, keywords, everything. That's what I do. And then on Fridays and Saturdays, I actually create the content and use that time to sometimes tweak it or come up with a new idea and be like, oh, I got to do that too. And then Sundays, I plan everything out. I schedule everything out in advance so that way I can start it all over again the following
that
Monday.
sounds like a really good plan. And do you share that with people when they work with you, kind of some
Yeah.
strategies around creating your
I
content?
share a lot of that even on my social platforms. I always promote, bulk record or, do as much content as you can in an hour or two. So that way you're not sitting there like, oh, I don't know what to do. And it helps you being consistent all the time.
Do you recommend people use these programs, any of these programs that are out there that will like schedule posts for you? Because sometimes
Oh
I
yeah.
find okay.
Yeah.
And is there one that you've found that you love?
Actually, no, I haven't found anything that I love. It's funny because, like, I guess because these platforms actually have these options for us to use, like we can schedule out posts on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and YouTube. So I think not having to pay for that extra thing kind of saves me money because these platforms already have it available for you. So I tell everybody, use as much free stuff as you can because it saves you a lot of money. And then also, especially if you're starting out, you don't have to worry about expenses right away.
So it's just kind of figuring out how to do those, the posting within
Yeah.
the platform itself.
Yeah. I mean, if you want, you can definitely use a software program. I used to use Hootsuite, and I swear by it because it gives you like different timelines of your groups, your pages and your timeline, so it makes it a lot easier sometimes. But for the most part, if you really don't have the funds, I suggest you just go with the apps.
Amazing. And also I always have people check in on their tech overwhelm and their tech savviness. Some of these programs, even though they're meant to save you time and be more efficient, sometimes you have to really figure out, okay, how do I load everything in and make sure
Yeah.
it's posting at the right time and it's going to
Yeah.
the right channels.
It can be too much for people, especially with like all the features that is available now. Like, I think technology, too much of it can hurt you more than it can help you. And so I don't know, I just feel like the less is better. Make it simple. Don't overdo it. Don't think that you have to have all the bells and whistles to be able to become an influencer, because it's really not that difficult.
And it goes back to what you said about, I think, just picking a platform. So maybe you just
Yeah,
stick
just
with
pick one. Yeah,
stick
stick
with
with one.
one, have your schedule,
Yeah.
map out your content, and then as you get really comfortable or you're ready to move on to the next level, but
And
maybe
that's
that's
what
your
I did. I did the same thing. I took my time. I started off as a blogger, went from blogger.com to building my own WordPress. I can't talk. My own WordPress website, and then I decided to jump into YouTube. And then once I did YouTube, then I was like, okay, now let's do Facebook. So I did Facebook, and now I'm figuring out Instagram. That's my next one. I'm not doing anything with TikTok yet because I'm avoiding TikTok, but I understand the need to know why I need to know the information and help so I can help my clients. But as far as me using it, I don't know about that.
Well, I felt the same way, and I started to get on TikTok, and I was like, am I even really doing this at my age? Like, why am I doing this? And it just became easier and easier. And now I don't do all the fancy things. Like, people get really
Right. I
creative
think
and
that's what it is.
fancy.
It's like I'm overthinking it, and I tell everybody to make it simple. Dude, just be
I make
simple
it,
with
I
it.
just
And I'm
get on
overthinking
and I
it.
make it simple, and and it's fun. It's fun. I think with whatever platform you choose, when you start to have that following and you start connecting and interacting with people, it actually motivates you and inspires you to keep
Yeah.
going with, at
Yeah.
least that platform, if not something else. But it just, having that connection. And that's why it's so important to align with your values and connect with people. So
I agree. It's boils down to the connection and being able to entertain people in a way that they are like, I can relate to that. That's that's exactly what it is.
yes, absolutely. And showing up and like being yourself, living your
Yeah.
truth, being authentic. I love that I love your, I will call it a mantra of being shameless and selfish. That's exactly what it's about. I spent a lot of my life being self-conscious and then coming on here more and more and not being self-conscious and just being myself. It's like the people who are attracted to you and drawn to your energy and want to work with you will, and the people that
Yep.
aren't, they won't, and that's okay. It's like coming to a place of acceptance that you're going to bring an audience that wants to work with you. So put yourself out there. Be shameless.
Exactly. Exactly. I feel like if you're authentic and you're being true to yourself, it makes it so much easier for people to find you and the people that you want to find you. Because I have the following that I have, I talk to them behind the scenes on Instagram and emails and stuff. And it's amazing how we actually have a relationship. And I call them my friends. That's why like my intro is like, hi friends, because it's really like we're friends. Like I'm actually talking to a friend that I've never met, but it's the connection is there and it's genuine.
That's a great piece of wisdom for just when you start to go on these platforms, and whether it's Instagram, TikTok, Facebook Live, you're talking to a friend.
Yep.
Imagine that you are just sitting down having, that's what I'm doing here in these interviews. We're just having a conversation. We're talking to each other, and we're not worried about who's watching or any of that other stuff. We're
No.
just talking about something, sharing ourselves, being real, and that's what it's all about.
Yes.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for coming on today, Victoria. I'm so happy to have you and be able to have this conversation with you. Please check out Victoria's website, check out her YouTube mentorship, follow her on Facebook. You can always reach out to me if you have questions or want to get in touch with her as well. And I look forward to more. Any final words, Victoria?
Just do it. That's all I can tell people is just do it because you won't regret it. Even if it doesn't work out, at least you can say that you tried it.
I love that. Yes. Just do it. Put yourself out there. And you know what? If you need a little bit of extra accountability or support, there are people out there
Yep.
who were right where you are, maybe afraid to take that leap and get started, who would be happy to give you some encouragement. And two of them are right here, but I'm sure there's a lot more out there who would who would help give
Right.
you some encouragement and support. So pick a platform, get started, create your schedule, and just be real. It's really all there is to it. So thank you everybody for
Thank
joining.
you guys.
Bye.